If you're selling your home, you probably want to get the most amount of money possible, right? The good news is you can, especially if you watch this video. Most sellers don't even know where to start or what upgrades they actually need. Some sellers even spend way more money than they should on a renovation and never see that money back when they sell. That is why it is so important to prepare, and in this video I have 9 strategic actionable tips that you can implement right away to help you sell faster and for a higher price. I want you to watch this video and be able to implement these strategies right away. All right, let's get into it and make you more money. So number 1, first impressions matter. Maximize your curb appeal. So what you should consider doing: trim the hedges, mow the lawn, freshen up the landscaping. If you have dead plants or dead grass, plant new grass, get rid of the dead plants, update the house numbers so it's easy to find. Any external lighting, so there's some cheap lighting options that you can stick in the ground beside your driveway to brighten up the space for the evening showings. You consider painting or cleaning your front door. These are all examples of things you can do to increase your curb appeal. Look into renting a pressure washer or getting someone to do it to clean your driveways or your walkways. These are small investments you can make to have a huge impact on your curb appeal. Why this matters? Well, buyers form their first impression within seconds of pulling up to your home. If the outside looks neglected, they're going to assume that the inside is like that as well. But the opposite is also true. So if the outside looks very well maintained, they're going to assume that you are responsible owners and have maintained the inside of the home the same way, oftentimes give you the benefit of the doubt. The desired outcome is definitely to create a warm and inviting first impression that makes buyers excited to step inside the home. This emotional connection will boost perceived value and get you more at the end of the day with very little invested. And that's the goal with every tip of this video, is to keep it very economical. How you can invest the least amount of time and money and get the most out of it. Okay, so strategy number 2, deep clean every inch of your home. So this is important because a spotless home looks newer, better cared for, and move-in ready. Dirt and grime instantly lowers buyers' perception of the value of your home. So what you should be doing: cleaning baseboards, light switches, vents, behind appliances. Consider getting a professional cleaner to come in and deep clean your entire home. Potentially go the extra mile and shampoo carpets if you have any, polish floors, wash windows both inside and outside. And one of the most important ones is eliminate any odors, especially if you have pets or do a lot of cooking at home. Again, we want buyers to walk in and think, wow, this home is so well maintained. This confidence leads to much stronger offers. Sometimes I'm shopping with buyers and the first thing that they're thinking about when we walk into the home is how they're going to need to get a cleaner in, or how they want to make sure that the home is actually clean when they move in. This is especially true in areas like the kitchen and bathrooms. If you're going to spend any amount of time in cleaning, these are the areas that are the most important, because buyers subconsciously think that these areas have to be the most sterile. This is a great tip that won't cost you a lot of money. If you're hiring cleaners, it'll cost a couple $100 for them to come and clean the entire home. And then you don't really need to think about it the entire time you're listed. Often you just have to do a little bit of cleaning here and there. Number 3, one of my favorite tips: declutter and depersonalize. This is by far the number 1 ROI, return on investment, you can have, because all you're doing is investing your time and maybe a little bit of money if you're getting a storage container or buying some boxes. But it will have the biggest impact on how much money you're going to sell if you're not going to do anything else on this list. At the very least, do this. So a lot of buyers can't see through the clutter of a home. They may not get a good idea of the actual space. If you have a lot of personal items, it may make it hard for buyers to imagine themselves living in the home, because all they can do is imagine you and your family in the home. So what you want to do is remove personal photos, collections, anything highly specific to your taste. You want to clear all surfaces to make it seem like there's a lot of space. Remove furniture to open up the space. Organize closets and cabinets, because buyers will usually look inside. What I like to do for my listings is I'll hire a stager to come into the home, walk through the home, and give advice on what needs to go, what should stay, how to orient your furniture to make it easier for buyers to walk through. Some advice on decluttering, because it can be a pretty overwhelming process. So it's really important to start early. Get rid of the non-essential items, the things that you don't use every day. Get those out of the home or into the garage, and then focus on the things that are a little bit more nuanced and may take a little bit more time. Again, this step does not cost a lot of money, making it a great ROI activity. You'll definitely get your money back 10 times over, 100 times over, but it does take time. So make sure you start early so you're not rushing later on. This way, when buyers come in, the rooms feel spacious, clean, and neutral. One thing I tell my buyers is you want it to feel like a show home or a hotel lobby. Very unoffensive, very open, and neutral. This way, buyers can easily picture their life in the space in your home. So now, strategy number 4, repaint with neutral and light colors. So fresh paint gives a home a very clean and updated look without a full renovation. Neutral colors can make a space feel larger and brighter, and paint isn't that expensive, especially if you do it yourself and you take the time to do it properly. You can see a huge return on investment. So if you have any bold colors in your home, kids' bedrooms sometimes are painted bright pink or bright blue. Paint over those bold colors or dated colors with soft grays, off-whites, or beige. My stager gave me the best colors, actually, to paint a home. So if you're curious what those specific colors and brands are, leave a comment below and I'll let you know. If there are any touch-ups that are needed, so like scuffed baseboards or messy doors, oftentimes the oils from our hands on surfaces that we touch all the time can get stained, so that would be important to paint over. One thing you do want to avoid is a very, very bright white, because that may make it feel sterile, like a hospital, and not really like a home. So again, if you want those paint codes, let me know in the comments. But the desired outcome is to make the photos pop. So when buyers are looking at homes, oftentimes their very first impression of the home, the first thing they're going to see before they step in the home is what you put out online. So that's photos and video. A fresh paint job can make a home look new in the photos. It is insane. The other thing is when buyers walk into the home and it's fully painted, it's one less thing they have to worry about, so they're not mentally subtracting money for repainting, but it does help the home feel more brighter and spacious and more modern. A good trick if you have an older home. Number 5, small repairs make a big difference. So one thing I tell all the sellers I work with is when a buyer walks in the home, they're taking mental notes of every single reason to not buy your home. So buyers will notice any little flaw and make them big deals in their head when they're looking back at the home. And these small repairs really start to add up and signal to a buyer that the home is not very well maintained. Even if some of these repairs are just cosmetic, when a buyer has a long list of things that they need to do, some buyers may not be very handy or capable. This may end up being a big deal to them. So what you should consider doing is getting ahead of these small repairs. So fix leaky faucets, squeaky doors, broken handles, cracked tiles. These are all very quick and cheap fixes that you can do yourself even if you're not that handy. And the buyer would be really happy knowing that there's nothing really wrong with the place. And the buyer can relax knowing that when they're going through the home, they're not really noticing any major defects with the home. One thing that you can include in this section is replacing outdated lighting. Switching to LEDs can have a big impact on how the home looks and feels and how modern it feels. Make sure you're replacing any burnt out light bulbs. Cabinet hardware, replacing the little handles on your kitchen and bathroom cabinets can have a big impact, and they're so cheap. You can buy a pack of a few dozen of these cabinetry hardwares for a couple bucks. The desired outcome is to create a home that feels move-in ready and is not a fixer-upper. You want buyers to not be thinking about what types of repairs they need to move in. You want them to be thinking about how their couch is going to fit in the space and where they're going to put their TV. Really them visioning how they're going to use the space and not what they need to do to get to that point. Fewer objections really just means smoother negotiations and more money in your pocket at the end of the day for very little effort and money. Number 6, stage the most important rooms. Staging helps buyers emotionally connect with the space, especially awkward rooms. It makes them feel more functional and highlight the home's best features. It gives the buyer ideas of how to orient their own furniture. It is really a tool that us realtors use to help buyers build an emotional and visual connection to the home. So staging can be expensive. So on all our listings, we'll bring a stager in to do a consultation, but the cost to rent furniture can add up extremely quickly and is likely not worth it for every home on the market, especially if you're going to stage your full home. So what you want to do is focus on staging the primary areas, that being the living room, the primary bedroom, and the kitchen. The living room, because that is where people are going to hang out. They're going to have their couch, coffee table, and TV. So you want to make sure you give them an idea of how their stuff is going to fit in the space. The kitchen is important because that is really the heart of the home. The kitchen sells the home in a lot of cases. So making it feel lived in, either with some coffee mugs where people are going to have breakfast, or some cocktail glasses and a cocktail shaker where people are going to be hosting. That can give people a good idea and feeling of how they want to use the space. And then the primary bedroom, the most common question is, how big a bed can I fit in this space? And if there's no existing bed in the room, it is really hard for buyers to tell what will and won't fit. So if you know the room is big enough for a queen size bed and 2 side tables, put a queen size bed and 2 side tables in there, and buyers will know right away how much space they're working with. If you're picking furniture, so let's say you're planning to stage on your own, so maybe get some furniture off marketplace, use light furniture, so light colored furniture, because it will maximize the way the space feels, the size of the space. And then small touches that people usually have in your home already, so like pillows, throws, mirrors, plants. I mentioned the cocktail shaker and glasses. If you have those, put them out on the counter. Coffee mugs and a coffee press. If you're into pour overs or coffee, then have a nook set up as like a coffee corner. These are some really great ways to stage your home with your existing furniture, so it won't cost you a dime. So the desired outcome with the staging is the home will look better in the photos and videos, which will result in more showings. When the homes are staged, buyers spend more time in the home, so longer visits, building a stronger emotional attachment usually means more offers and more competitive offers. And if you're staging with your own furniture and existing items in the home, then this is a really great return on your investment. Number 7, invest in professional photography and video. So online listings are the new first showings. What I mean by this is, if you have ever tried to buy a home, the first thing you're gonna do is look online at the photos and videos. Bad photos kill the interest before buyers even book a tour. And you don't want to eliminate your home from being a contender before they even step through the door. So what you should do is hire a professional to take wide angle shots, well lit shots. These professional photographers know exactly how to shoot a home to maximize the size and feel of the home. One thing you can do that you have control over is schedule your photo shoot where there is a lot of natural light, so on a sunny day. And then depending on the home, consider drone footage, because that's really cool. And then walkthrough video tours, virtual tours, anything you can do to showcase the home and help buyers build an emotional connection and get a feel for the home before they even step in the home is so important. A lot of realtors will include professional photography in their packages when they do sell your home, but you want to be careful, but you want to be extra sure what type of photography the realtor's using. I've seen some realtors just take pictures with their phone to save on costs. Sometimes they'll use their friend or their buddy who may not even be a professional photographer. So you want to make sure that you're looking at their past marketing material, how their past listings have showed up online. And then a bonus tip, look at getting a professional floor plan. A lot of realtors, again, they cheap out and don't hire a professional person to come in, take floor plan measurements and produce a floor plan. These floor plans, especially if you have a weird layout to your home, will give buyers a way to connect even further with the home. They can start planning where they're going to put their furniture, how they're going to use the different parts of the home before they even step in while they're looking online. A really good investment. Sometimes professional photography can be important, so it's really good that you get multiple quotes and you work with a professional realtor. Professional photography can be expensive, but it is always worth it. It is the absolute first impression when anyone is buying a home. It is really the very first step a buyer will take before they submit any offer, before they even step foot in your home. They're looking at the photos, they're looking at the videos. So get more clicks, get more showings, and stand out in a crowded market with good photography, videography, and a floor plan. I talk about return on investment. This definitely is one of the highest ROI investments in any home sale, because no buyer stepping foot in your home if there are no photos. Okay, number 9. Pricing strategically, not emotionally. This is always the most difficult conversation I have with sellers. Number 1, sellers are emotionally attached to the home, especially if they've lived in the home for a long time. Oftentimes their value and perceived value of the home comes from the emotional side, instead of looking at the comparative sales in the neighborhood and the market stats and data. The second reason why pricing can be a difficult conversation is because a lot of home sellers will tie the list price to their sale price, but they are very different. Your list price really should be used as a pricing strategy. It is really one of the few things we can control to bring buyers into the home. So having the right pricing strategy will result in a higher sale. There are three main pricing strategies. Either you'll have event pricing where you price below the comparative sales and drive a lot of activity to the listing, hopefully get bid up. Or you start with a pricing disadvantage, but you have a negotiating advantage. The opposite pricing strategy is aspirational pricing strategy, where you price a little bit above market comps, leaving room for negotiations. So you start with a pricing advantage and you have a negotiating disadvantage. And the tried and true, the pricing strategy that works in every market is pricing in line with the comparables. So you're pricing exactly in line with market stats and recent sales. And you know this is a price that the market will accept and there are buyers that are willing to pay that price for the home. So what you should be doing is base your price on comparables and a pricing strategy, not what you hope to get. Look at competition in the market, consider pricing slightly under if you want multiple offers, price in line with the market to get good activity, and don't overprice emotionally because it will lead to longer days on market and you don't want buyers looking at the listing that's been on the market for 2 months and think that there's something wrong with it and that's why buyers have passed up on it. And these buyers often end up going towards newer fresh listings on the market instead of the stale or stagnant ones. So list price is all about strategy and your sale price will dictate on the strategy you use, not the exact list price you have. Put yourself in the driver's seat during negotiations, trust your realtor. And this goes into my last point. So strategy number 9, working with an experienced agent. So your realtor, your real estate agent is your partner, not just someone that will put a sign in the yard, put it on the MLS and pray. We call those the 3 P's of real estate. You do not want to work with an agent like that. A good real estate agent can add tens of thousands of dollars to your final sale price, and a bad one can cost you the opposite. Oftentimes, a good realtor can pay for themselves over and over again. So choose someone that knows the local market. Ask about their marketing strategies, negotiating skills, recent results, referrals, reviews. Everything is important when you're making a decision on who to partner with. One common complaint I see with sellers or consumers and their realtors is lack of communication and their realtors not being very proactive. So make sure that they have good systems and communications in place. You want a smooth transaction, expert guidance, and maximum value. So take the time to interview all the agents in your market that you think would be a good fit. That way you can be confident that you're making a good decision on who you partner with. So these 9 strategies are the exact strategies that I use every single day to get the sellers I work with more money in less time. I create a custom game plan for every single one of my sellers. So if you want a game plan tailored to you, let me know, leave a comment. I'd love to connect. I've got a calendar link in my bio. But if you follow these 9 strategies, you will add so much money to the bottom line when you're selling your home. The 10th strategy in this video should be watching this exact video. If you found this helpful, subscribe, leave a like, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.